6 weeks ago, my wife Lisa, who I've been married to for 7 years, told me she was planning to go to her 10-year college reunion in Colorado. She asked if I wanted to come along, saying it would be a relaxed weekend where everyone was bringing their partners. I said yes because I'd never been to Colorado and thought it would be fun to meet the people she'd gone to school with. Lisa was really excited about the trip and talked about hiking trails we could check out and restaurants we should visit. She even suggested staying a couple of extra days to turn it into a little vacation. We booked our flights together, and I took time off work. I bought some new hiking boots and a jacket for the Colorado weather. In the evenings, Lisa and I looked through her old college photos, and she pointed out friends I'd get to meet. There was Mark, who had been at our wedding with his wife Jennifer. She'd helped Lisa land her first job. Then there was Carlos, who organized a charity run Lisa always took part in. I noticed she didn't mention Tyler, her college boyfriend, even though I knew from past conversations that he'd been a big part of her life back then. They dated for almost 3 years before breaking up during their senior year. About 10 days before the trip, Lisa told me the reunion organizers had decided not to allow spouses anymore because of space issues at the venue. She seemed bummed about it and apologized for the change. I told her it was okay and that I'd use the weekend to work on some stuff around the house. But whenever I asked for more details about the new plans, she kind of brushed it off. When I specifically asked which other spouses weren't coming, she mentioned Mark's wife and a few others, but then quickly changed the subject to something about her work. The night before her flight, Lisa packed while I watched TV in our room. She put a lot of thought into her outfits, packing way more than she usually would for a 4-day trip. She brought her nicest dresses, including one she just bought but hadn't worn yet. When I mentioned it, she said she wanted to look good in photos since everyone would be comparing how they changed since college. She also packed more makeup than usual and spent extra time organizing her toiletries. The day after Lisa left for the reunion, I got a text from Mark, one of her college friends I'd met at our wedding. He said he thought I should know that Lisa had been spending all her time with her college boyfriend, Tyler. Mark also told me he'd seen them go into Tyler's cabin together and stay there for over an hour while everyone else was on a group hike. He added that Lisa had told everyone I couldn't come because I had an important work project. Mark even sent me a photo of the reunion schedule, which clearly showed there were no restrictions on bringing partners. I sat there staring at the message for almost an hour trying to process it. Lisa and I hadn't been having any issues. We'd been talking about starting a family next year. We'd just finished redoing our kitchen and were planning to renovate the bathrooms soon. We'd even started looking at bigger houses in neighborhoods with good schools. I'd never had any reason to doubt her before. That evening, I called Lisa to see how the reunion was going. She said everything was great and mentioned a hike and a barbecue. When I casually brought up the venue and asked if the no-spouse rule was really necessary, she quickly said it was because the lodge didn't have enough rooms. Then I asked if Tyler was there, trying to sound casual. After a pause, she said he wasn't, that he couldn't make it and was living in Europe now. After we hung up, I checked our cell phone bill online. There were a bunch of calls between Lisa and a number I didn't recognize in the weeks before the reunion. The calls had gotten more frequent as the trip got closer. The last one was the day before she left, and it lasted 47 minutes. I copied the number and texted Mark, asking if he knew whose it was. He confirmed it was Tyler's and added that Tyler had moved back from London 6 months ago after getting divorced. I packed a bag and drove to my sister's place. She's a family lawyer. I showed her Mark's text, the reunion schedule, and the phone records, then explained everything. My sister warned me not to jump to conclusions and suggested I talk to Lisa when she got back. She said the calls might not mean anything. When I pointed out that Lisa had lied about Tyler not being there and told everyone I couldn't come because of work, my sister agreed it was concerning. But she also reminded me that 7 years of marriage deserved more than 3 days of doubt. She advised me to wait and see if there was a reasonable explanation before doing anything drastic. For the next 3 nights, I crashed on my sister's couch. Lisa didn't call me again after our talk, which felt off for a 4-day trip. She sent a few basic texts with updates and group photos, but nothing personal. The pictures always showed big crowds, never just her or her with specific people. Curious, I checked social media and found photos from the reunion posted by others. In a few of them, I spotted Lisa and Tyler in the background, standing close. In one, his hand was on her lower back. In another, they were sitting away from the group, talking like they were deep in conversation. When she was supposed to come back, I went to her house to confront her. I printed out phone records, screenshots of the photos I found online, and the reunion schedule that showed spouses were allowed. I laid everything out on the kitchen table and waited. When Lisa walked in and saw me sitting there with all the papers, her smile dropped. She looked surprised at first, then worried as she noticed what was on the table. When I confronted her, Lisa admitted Tyler was at the reunion but swore nothing happened between them and that they were just friends now. When I pushed her about lying, she finally admitted the reunion didn't actually ban spouses. She said she thought it would be awkward since Tyler was going to be there and wanted to avoid an uncomfortable situation. When I showed her the phone records with a 47-minute call to Tyler the day before the trip, she tried to turn it around, saying it was invasive of me to check. She claimed Tyler called because he was nervous about seeing everyone after his divorce and wanted to know who was coming. I pointed out that this was their 12th call in 3 weeks. Way more than just a quick chat about the reunion. I told her I'd already talked to my sister about divorce options. Lisa got really upset and kept insisting nothing happened with Tyler. She said she was just being a friend to someone going through a tough time after his divorce. According to her, they only went to his cabin to grab something from his car, and Mark didn't see them come back out because he'd already left for the hike. She even said she'd paid for most of Tyler's meals because he was between jobs and she was just trying to help him out. When I showed Lisa the social media photos with Tyler's hand on her back, she brushed it off, saying everyone was just squeezed together for the group picture. But I could clearly see there was plenty of space around them in the photo. I told her I was going to stay at my sister's that night because I needed time to think. Lisa followed me around while I packed, her voice getting more and more desperate. She kept saying I was overreacting to nothing and that I was ready to throw away 7 years of marriage over harmless texts and photos. She brought up our plans for kids and the house we'd been talking about buying. When I zipped up my bag, she blocked the bedroom doorway, begging me to stay and work things out. I just waited quietly until she moved, then left without responding to her. That night, Lisa called me 27 times. She left 14 voicemails, each one more emotional than the last. I didn't listen to most of them. Over the next few days, she texted nonstop, switching between apologizing, explaining herself, and accusing me of being unreasonable. My sister agreed to hold off on any legal stuff while I figured out what to do. I just feel completely lost. 7 years of marriage, and I never saw this coming. My mind is all over the place trying to make sense of everything. My friends are divided. Half of them think I should at least hear her out completely, saying marriages have survived worse. The other half think the lying alone shows her true colors. Can't even eat. Has anyone else been through something like this with their spouse? I never thought I'd be in this situation, and honestly, my life feels unrecognizable right now. Update 1. Hey everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who took the time to comment on my last post. I read every single one, even if I didn't get a chance to reply to everyone. The support I've gotten from this community has been incredible, especially during what's been the hardest time of my life. Hearing so many of you share your own similar stories really helped me feel less alone in all of this. For those asking for an update, it's been 2 weeks since I found out about Lisa's lies. After talking things through with my sister and really thinking it over, I've decided to move forward with the divorce. I just don't see how I can rebuild the trust after what happened. I reached out to Mark again to get more details, and he agreed to meet me near his work. He showed me more photos from the reunion, and it was pretty clear that Lisa and Tyler were glued to each other the whole time. In one group photo from the first night's dinner, the seating was supposed to be alphabetical, but Lisa had switched her name card so she could sit next to Tyler instead of where she was supposed to be. Mark told me he didn't want to get involved at first, but when he saw Lisa and Tyler disappear during the hike, it didn't sit right with him. His wife noticed it too and encouraged him to tell me. He confirmed that Lisa and Tyler spent almost the entire reunion together, often breaking away from the group, sharing inside jokes, and sitting together at every meal. Another classmate even mentioned how it seemed like they'd picked up right where they left off in college. As for the cabin incident, Mark gave me a timeline that didn't match Lisa's version at all. The hike was supposed to take about 90 minutes, but Lisa and Tyler disappeared about 15 minutes in, saying they forgot something at the cabins and would catch up. They didn't show up again until about 30 minutes after everyone had finished lunch, which made their absence way longer than the few minutes Lisa had claimed. Tyler even made a joke about getting lost on the trail, which made a few people uncomfortable because it was pretty obvious what had really happened. When I asked Mark why he decided to tell me everything, he explained that he and his wife had gone through something similar years ago. They were able to work through it, but only because the truth came out right away. He believes that secrets can ruin a marriage faster than the mistakes themselves, and he felt I deserved to know what was really going on. After that, I met Lisa at a coffee shop to tell her my decision. She showed up 20 minutes early and had already ordered my usual drink, which felt like a small but meaningful gesture. She brought a folder full of photos from the reunion, pointing out group pictures with Tyler and others, trying to prove nothing inappropriate had happened. But those photos only showed the organized group activities, not the times when Mark said they were off alone together. She also had emails from the reunion organizer about logistics, but none of them mentioned any rules about spouses not being allowed. Lisa asked why I would throw away 7 years of marriage based on what Mark said. She claimed he'd always been jealous of her friendships and even brought up how he acted at our wedding. I told her it wasn't just about Mark. It was about the lies she told to make sure I wouldn't be there while her ex was. The fact that she went to such lengths to hide the truth showed me that the trust between us was completely broken. She admitted she'd made a mistake in how she handled things but kept denying that anything happened with Tyler. She even suggested marriage counseling and said she'd already booked an appointment for the following week. When I said no, she got visibly upset and started flipping through her folder again, trying to convince me nothing was wrong. She begged me to talk to 2 other people from the reunion who she said would back up her side of the story, but I'd never even met them. The next day, I started looking for a place to live. I found an apartment near my work and signed a 6-month lease. I paid the deposit and first month's rent from my personal account, not our joint one, to keep things separate. When I told Lisa I was moving out, she called her parents. They came over that night and tried to talk me out of it. Her dad said every marriage has rough patches and brought up mistakes he'd made in the past that her mom had forgiven. Her mom was crying and begging us to try counseling before making any permanent decisions. It was a tough conversation, but I stood by my choice. The next weekend, I moved most of my stuff to the new apartment. A couple of friends helped me out while Lisa was at her parents' place. I left her a note explaining what furniture I took and what I'd come back for later. Lisa started telling our friends her side of the story, painting Mark as someone who stirs up drama and me as someone who overreacted without giving her a chance to explain. She said I misunderstood harmless interactions and blew things out of proportion. Meanwhile, my sister helped me file the initial divorce papers, listing irreconcilable differences as the reason. Lisa kept texting me, saying she still hoped I'd change my mind before things went too far. When I didn't reply, she sent me an email with links to marriage counselors in our area. She said she'd looked into their backgrounds and found one who specializes in rebuilding trust. I didn't even open the links. I just feel so lost right now. Reddit, does it ever get easier? Update 2. It's been a month since I last shared an update. The divorce process is moving along, but it's been messy. At first, Lisa tried to fight it, saying that irreconcilable differences wasn't a good enough reason for the divorce given our situation. My sister told me this was just a stalling tactic because, in our state, you don't need the other person's agreement to get a no-fault divorce. Lisa filed a long response to the divorce papers, asking that we try marriage counseling before moving forward and claiming our marriage could still be saved. She's been going back and forth between sending me apologetic messages and angry accusations. She even showed up at my apartment twice, once with flowers and once with divorce papers covered in handwritten notes arguing against the terms. The second time, she wouldn't leave until I talked to her, which led to an awkward standoff in the hallway. My neighbor eventually stepped in, and I was able to go back inside. Now, my building manager has been told not to let her in anymore. Lisa also reached out to my sister directly, trying to get her to stop representing me. She sent emails saying I was being irrational and didn't really want the divorce. My sister forwarded those to me without adding any comments. Lisa even tried getting mutual friends involved, asking them to convince me to reconsider. 2 friends reached out to me, saying they were worried about how quickly the marriage was ending. It was clear they'd only heard Lisa's side of the story. Last week, I bumped into Jamie, one of Tyler's friends, at the grocery store. Jamie knew Lisa too. We'd met at my wedding. During our conversation, I brought up what happened between Lisa and Tyler at the reunion. Jamie looked confused and told me that Tyler had said Lisa was all over him the whole weekend. According to Jamie, Tyler said Lisa had told him our marriage was already in trouble and likely headed for divorce. Jamie then dropped a bombshell. Tyler admitted they'd hooked up on the last night of the reunion. When I asked Jamie to clarify, he confirmed that Tyler specifically said they'd slept together. Jamie apologized for being the one to tell me but said he felt I deserved to know the truth. He added that Tyler had mentioned feeling guilty because he knew me from the wedding, but Lisa had been very persistent and assured him our marriage was basically over. Jamie even said Tyler showed him texts from Lisa during the reunion that were clearly romantic. I thanked Jamie for telling me the truth and left my shopping cart behind. When I got back to my car, I called my sister and told her everything. She suggested I hold off on confronting Lisa with this information for now. She explained that it could be useful during the divorce process, especially if Lisa is still fighting it. Evidence of adultery might change how we handle things, so she advised letting her deal with that part legally. She also told me to forward any texts or emails from Lisa to her before I respond, so I don't accidentally say something that could make things more complicated. Later that evening, Lisa showed up at my apartment unannounced. A neighbor had let her into the building, even though she wasn't supposed to be allowed in. She brought dinner from my favorite restaurant and spent almost an hour trying to talk to me. She repeated the same things she's been saying, that she was just helping a friend, nothing happened, Mark misunderstood, and that she loves me and would never cheat. She mentioned she started therapy to figure out why she handled things so badly and brought up couples counseling again. She even talked about our plans to have kids and how we always imagined growing old together. The whole time she was talking, I stayed quiet, thinking about what Jamie had told me earlier. Against my sister's advice, I ended up telling Lisa about my conversation with Jamie and what Tyler had said about them hooking up at the reunion. She got really angry and insisted Jamie was lying. She said Tyler would never say that and suggested he might have told Jamie to lie because he was upset that she stopped talking to him after the reunion. She said she cut things off with Tyler when she realized their friendship wasn't worth risking our marriage. She accused me of believing a stranger over her and said I was just looking for excuses to end things. When I asked if she had kept talking to Tyler after the reunion, she got defensive. She grabbed her things and left in a hurry, slamming the door behind her. The next day, she sent me a long email saying she had reached out to Tyler, who supposedly denied telling Jamie anything about them hooking up. She claimed it was all a misunderstanding or that Jamie was trying to sabotage things. A week later, Tyler called me out of the blue. He said Lisa had been blowing up his phone, sometimes calling from different numbers when he blocked her, accusing him of spreading rumors. He told me he just wanted the drama to stop. When I straight up asked him if he'd told Jamie that he and Lisa had slept together, Tyler admitted he'd exaggerated when talking to Jamie. He said they'd spent a lot of time together at the reunion but only kissed, and that it happened on the last night after they'd both been drinking at the farewell dinner. Tyler also mentioned that Lisa had told him our marriage was struggling, saying we hadn't been connecting lately and that she was unsure about what she wanted. He said she was the one who kept seeking him out during the reunion, suggesting they catch up privately. When I told him we'd actually been planning to have a baby the next year and that things weren't as bad as she'd made them sound, he seemed surprised. He apologized for his part in everything, saying he should have known better and kept his distance since she was married. After the call, I sent Tyler's contact info to my sister. She reminded me not to confront Lisa directly about these contradictions and to let the legal process handle things without adding more emotional drama. I didn't respond to Lisa's email where she defended herself. 2 days later, Lisa suddenly agreed to the divorce terms my lawyer had proposed, including how we'd split our assets. After weeks of fighting the divorce, her quick change of heart made me wonder what had changed. My sister thinks Lisa might have realized Tyler had talked to me and decided to cut her losses instead of risking more details coming out during a messy court battle. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update. The house is up for sale, and we've already gotten 2 offers higher than the asking price. After paying off the mortgage, we've decided to split the remaining money evenly. Lisa came by the apartment again, this time with her mom. They brought boxes to pick up some things we'd agreed she could take. While Lisa was packing, her mom kept trying to talk to me about marriage troubles and giving things another chance. She told me a story about how she and her husband almost split up after Lisa was born because he was working too much and she thought he was having an affair, which turned out not to be true. She said she was really glad they worked things out instead of breaking up. I helped carry the boxes to their car but didn't get into the conversation much. Just stayed polite. As they were leaving, Lisa asked to talk to me alone while her mom waited in the car. Her mom seemed unsure about leaving us, looking back a few times as she walked to the car. When we were alone, Lisa seemed more serious than before. She said she needed to get something off her chest and admitted she lied about why I couldn't come to the reunion. She also admitted she spent a lot of time with Tyler there but insisted they never slept together. She said they only kissed once after the farewell dinner when they'd both been drinking, but she stopped it from going further and immediately regretted it. She didn't know why Tyler told Jamie they'd hooked up, guessing maybe he thought the kiss counted or was trying to make himself look better. She also confessed to deleting texts between her and Tyler before the reunion. She said their conversations sometimes drifted into memories of their past relationship, and she knew it would hurt me if I saw them. She claimed the cabin incident was innocent. They went to get something from his car but ended up talking for a while about his recent divorce and how he felt like a failure. When I asked Lisa why she was telling me all this now, she said that since the divorce was going ahead no matter what, she wanted me to know the truth. She admitted she'd made a lot of poor choices and was dealing with the fallout, but she insisted she hadn't been unfaithful beyond that one kiss. She also denied ever having doubts about our marriage before the reunion, which was the opposite of what Tyler had told me. She thought maybe Tyler had misunderstood her when she mentioned feeling nervous about having kids someday. She gave me an envelope with concert tickets inside for a band we both liked. She said she'd bought them before the reunion as a surprise for our anniversary. She didn't expect me to go with her but thought I might want the tickets anyway. I took the envelope without saying much. After she left, I got a text from Tyler. He said Lisa had asked him to message me. He repeated that they hadn't slept together at the reunion and only kissed. He admitted he'd told Jamie something happened when he was drunk but said he'd exaggerated. He apologized for his part in everything and promised not to contact me or Lisa again. For a moment, I hesitated because their stories finally lined up. But then I remembered all the lies that had come before. Even if it was just a kiss, Lisa had gone out of her way to lie so she could spend time with her ex, and then she kept lying when I confronted her. Whether they had sex or not didn't change the fact that she'd broken my trust. Plus, the fact that their stories had changed so many times made me doubt this new version too. The next day, Mark sent me screenshots of an argument he'd had with Lisa over text. In the messages, she blamed him for ruining our marriage by telling me what happened. She called him a backstabbing friend and said he'd misinterpreted harmless interactions. Mark defended himself, saying he'd only told me the truth. He also mentioned that other people at the reunion had noticed Lisa and Tyler acting suspiciously but didn't want to get involved. He brought up a few new details I hadn't heard before, like how Lisa and Tyler had disappeared from a bonfire one night for over an hour. In her text to Mark, Lisa admitted that she and Tyler had talked about their past relationship during the reunion and reminisced about old times. She accused Mark of jumping to conclusions about what happened at the cabin but didn't actually deny that they'd been alone together longer than she'd originally said. She also mentioned that they'd shared inside jokes and some harmless flirting, which she claimed shouldn't have been taken seriously by anyone watching. For me, every new detail just reinforced that I'd made the right decision. Even her late admission about the kiss felt like a half-truth, something she only confessed to because Jamie had already spilled the beans. It seemed like she was trying to downplay what really happened. The way she kept lying until she was backed into a corner completely shattered any trust one had left. I've been focusing on building my new life. I bought some actual furniture for my apartment instead of using the temporary stuff I brought from the house. My sister introduced me to her husband's friend, who needed help renovating his basement, and that's given me a good project to work on during my free time. Lisa hasn't been reaching out as much lately. From what I've heard through mutual friends, she's been telling people she made a mistake, but that our marriage ended because I wasn't willing to forgive her. Some people believe her, others don't. I've stopped trying to explain my side or defend my decision. The people who really know me understand, and the ones who don't aren't worth worrying about. The divorce should be finalized in the next few months, hopefully sooner rather than later. I'll update when it's all over. Final update. The divorce went through last week. I thought everything would wrap up smoothly, but of course it didn't. 2 days before it was official, I got an email from Lisa with the subject line, "The whole truth." I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the best of me. In the email, Lisa finally came clean. She admitted that she and Tyler had slept together during the reunion, not just once, but twice. She said she fought the divorce so hard at first because she couldn't bring herself to face the full truth, even in her own mind. She also revealed that Tyler had reached out to her a month before the reunion, and they'd been talking regularly. When she found out he was going, she made up the story about spouses not being allowed to come. She shared details I hadn't known before. Their first night together wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing fueled by alcohol, like she tried to make it seem. It was planned. She told everyone she had a work call but actually went to his cabin after the welcome dinner. The second time was after the farewell dinner, when most people were busy with group activities. Lisa said she regretted everything, especially how she tried to make me look like the bad guy to our friends for wanting a divorce. She admitted she'd only told bits of the truth when I had proof and manipulated the situation. She ended the email by saying she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She just wanted to stop living with the lies. I forwarded the email to my sister without adding any comments. She called me right away to see if I was okay. I told her I was fine. I'd pretty much suspected this all along. When she asked if I wanted to use Lisa's confession in the divorce, I said no. The terms were fair and I just wanted it over with. I kept the email in my records but didn't see the point in using it to hurt Lisa more. I didn't reply to her email either. There was nothing left to say. The day after the divorce was final, Lisa's sister called me. We'd always gotten along at family events. She'd found out about Lisa's email and wanted to apologize for how her family had treated me during everything. She said Lisa had finally told their parents the whole story, and they were embarrassed about how they'd pushed me to work things out. I told her it wasn't their fault. They were just looking out for their daughter, like any parent would. She made it clear they didn't blame me for how things ended, and her dad felt especially bad about what he'd said to me when he tried to intervene. 2 days later, I got another email from Lisa. She asked if we could meet one last time so she could return some of my personal stuff she'd found while packing up the house. We decided to sell the house as part of the divorce, so I agreed to meet her. Lisa showed up 10 minutes late and handed me a small box. Inside was an old watch that had belonged to my grandfather, some childhood photos of mine that had gotten mixed in with hers, and a few other personal things. The watch had been missing for months, and I'd blamed Lisa for losing it while cleaning. She admitted she'd actually found it a while back but hid it during an argument and then forgot about it until she was packing. There was an awkward silence after that. She thanked me for not using her confession email against her in the divorce. I just said it wouldn't have helped either of us to drag things out. I noticed she looked different. Her hair was shorter, and she seemed thinner than the last time I'd seen her. She mentioned she was still going to therapy, trying to figure out why she'd done what she did. We sat there drinking our coffee without saying much. As we were about to leave, she asked if I'd be open to staying in touch occasionally as friends. I told her no as politely as I could, and explained that I thought a clean break would be better for both of us. She nodded and didn't argue. I just want to say thanks to Reddit for being there through all of this. When I first posted here about a year ago, I was completely lost. Your advice, support, and hearing stories from people who'd been through similar things helped me get through the hardest time of my life.